Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hi, Chris. How we doing, mate? How's the week going?
All right, Kev, not too bad. Nice to speak to you. Nice to hear you.
You, and you after our technical difficulties trying to set this up.
Yes, all down to me, I'm afraid. My fault.
No, not at all, mate. Not at all. Anyway, we've got a short week this week. Hope you've done all your orders for your college and for the main one.
Well, to be honest, Kev, it was all a bit of a rush because I'm really busy this week, and I mean, to be fair, the way I'm playing it makes no difference anyway. But no, it was all one mad rush. But it's done because I won't have time to look at it now for the rest of the week.
Yeah, good stuff, mate. Good stuff. Go. Anyway, do you want to start us off? What we'll do is have a look at the old PFC East and see what happened there.
Okie doke, sir. Rightio, yeah, PFC East, first game on the clock. Rapiers and the Rough Riders. Now, Rapiers won the game 27-17, and it was a good game, close game, but Phil edged it in the fourth quarter. And Pete really was let down by turnovers, and then he had some bad injuries as well during the game, and that was that really. But quite optimistic for Pete. He's obviously on his way back. Yeah, it's last week, this week, he's put in good performances, so he's definitely on the way back. On to the most embarrassing score of the week. Chargers against the Generals. I owe Jeff an apology because last week I cast aspersions on his lack of effort, and then lo and behold, I lose 28-0. And I can't say it was due to lack of effort. It was all on me. I couldn't stop the running game. 300 yards of running game. I had one first down.
Wow.
Yeah. So that says it all. I did well in respect of it could have been an absolute onslaught because he actually kicked 7 field goals. If they'd been scores, I'd have taken a right hiding. But hey ho. So yeah, that's my embarrassing week. Apologies again, Jeff. So the Generals go to 2-0, but they've got the Packers this week away at the Packers. Rapiers go to the Stormers, Riders to the Huskies, and I've got the Titans.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's how it is in the East.
So what do you reckon then? How do you think it's going to shape up as the season goes on?
The Generals look very, very good. Yeah, I mean, defensively, they haven't conceded a point. They barely conceded a yard. I think I got 80 yards of total offense. The Bombers got 0. They look very ominous.
I
think
take the title. Do you reckon?
Well, I think Phil's going to have his work cut out to stop them. It'll be very interesting. That game, obviously, is the game. Yeah. And the only way I see being any different is if the Generals lose some games along the way. But that defense is looking like something else.
Oh, yeah, fair enough then, mate. Shall I have a look at the LFC East then?
Yes, sir.
Where we had the Sun Devils playing the Fire, and this was a good game actually. Sam, I think, is on a bit of a comeback. Sun Devils 26, the Fire 39. So Colton, welcome to the game, and Patrick, I hope you're watching this, mate. Colton, the new boy, showed you how to get a win in his first ever outing. Well done, Colton. Great stuff, mate. Basically, the strange thing is here, we've got, for the Hornets, we've got Escobar, who is a running back that likes to catch the ball. Well, Colton seems to have brought a new thing to the Fire. He's now got a quarterback that likes to rush the ball. So basically, his rushing quarterback, Verges, rushed for 109 yards and a double figure of carries. What happened here was we also had 4 interceptions for the Fire, and that didn't help the Sun Devils at all. So next week, the Fire go head-to-head with the Sharks. And it was, as I say, quite a good performance. I think, unfortunately, Sam's, should we say, schedule is pretty diabolical. He has quite a tough old schedule. So I can't see very many wins for that. But the Fire, still looking good. Still looking good. And the other game here, and you're not going to like this one at all, mate. I'm sorry. Your bold prediction, the Statesman 7, Phoenix 28.
Oh, I need to apologise to Lee as well.
Yeah, the Phoenix at the moment, though, in fairness to Lee, the Phoenix look absolutely awesome. Ian's done a great job there. Again, running back Verdell, wait for this one, has 584 yards so far this season, and he is a leading rusher in the whole of the LFC. Some awesome stuff there. 14-7 at half time, and then a total shutout in the second half. Basically, the Phoenix have got one hell of a defense. They limited Lee to just 142 yards the whole game. And so Lee was obviously struggling. The Statesmen, I don't know. Again, they haven't got the easiest schedule on the lot, so they're probably looking at a 5-5 or something like that. I cannot see them making the playoffs, I'm afraid, Chris, unless something dramatic happens. Having said that, the Phoenix, I think, are pretty much nailed on for the playoffs. They look brilliant at the moment. So that was basically what happened in the East. We've got the Phoenix sitting 2-0. We've got the Fire on 1-1. We've got the Sun Devils on 0-2, and we've got the Statesmen on 0-2. So, what are your predictions now? So, you're still sticking with Lee's Statesman?
I don't think I dare, because if I stay with the Statesman, I'm giving him the kiss of death. He'll never speak to me.
No.
So, no, I predict they don't win a game now, Kev.
All right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So getting our vote for prediction of the week is like the kiss of death, then, mate. Yeah.
Yeah. Lee will be really pissed with me, and I don't blame him.
Yeah. Okay. So what happened in the PFC North, then, mate?
Right then, so in the North, right? Okay. Start off with the Bombers and the Maroons. Scots Maroons 49 and the Bombers 0. This was all over at half time. It was 42-0 at half time. So Bombers never in the game. Rambok and Terizan, not easy names to say, combined for 200 yards on the ground, and peculiarly because they got 200 yards, but the longest run between them was 10 yards.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, so it was all time of possession. It was just possession running, and it is exactly as it sounds. 49-0. That was it. Yeah. Poor old Jeff's having a rough time to start the season. He's not scored a point yet. Yeah. Moving on, the Rivets and the Surfers. Right now, I was really looking forward to this, because this was a barometer. This was how far up are the Surfers rising and how far down are the Rivets falling. Well, the answer came as you might expect. The Rivets 46 and the Surfers 28. But you've got to feel sorry for Garrett. It was just the first quarter just beggared belief. It was 29-0 down in the first quarter. Yeah. It started with the Rivets returning a kickoff for 83 yards. Then they score a touchdown. First possession, yeah. Surfers, interception, returned for a touchdown. Yeah. Next possession, interception leading to a field goal, and that was basically how the first quarter went. It couldn't do anything right at all. It was just awful for Gary Surfers. It was just dreadful. And they could, I mean, at the end of the day, they just couldn't recover from the start. You know, everything that could go wrong in that first quarter went wrong. And to be 29-0 down at the end of the first, you can't come back from that. Not realistically, not against the Rivets anyway. Interestingly, the Surfers had a great passing day with 270 yards by his leading receiver, Ford. But of course, the Rivets, not to be outdone, Rugsy had 208 yards. So the Rivets go to 2-0. The Maroons and the Surfers are 1-1, and the Bombers obviously are 0-2. But then it gets quite interesting. The Maroons host the Eagles. The Rivets go to the Bulldogs. The Devils and the Surfers, and the Bombers and the Warriors. So we'll see what next week brings.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah. You still can't see past the Rivets, can you, to be honest?
I got to be honest, I truly thought that the Surfers would run them closer, but he just knows how to dominate. Yeah,
Yeah.
Conrad just has it to perfection. I don't know, how you can start off so well. I mean, when you think that then the Surfers scored 28 points, so if you took off the 29, yeah, they actually won the game after the first quarter. But it's just Conrad
Yeah.
does it again.
Yeah. No, you can't really see past that. Okay, LFC North, my division. Basically, Patriots 19 and the Rushmore 39. Steve here was basically 27-6 at half time. So and nice. I had 42 minutes of ball retention, which made one hell of a difference. Poor Steve's team was a bit bashed up from previous games, and he needs to get his injured players back to stand any chance, because the season could be drifting away a little bit. I play the Weasels next week, which is going to be one hell of a tough game, to be quite honest. So we shall see what happens there. And the Patriots, as I say, just need to get players back in, to be quite honest, to stand any chance. The other game was between the Hornets and the 66ers. The Hornets 17 and the 66ers 6. For the Hornets to be kept to 17 points shows you just how good Craig's defense is. He really has got one heck of a strong defense. Problem is, to a certain extent, his offense is lacking a little bit. But I tell you what, the direction he's taken that team in is awesome. If he gets a couple of offensive players there, he will take some stopping. Again, I don't know how much of the low morale is affecting Collins' Hornets. It would appear they're on the way back, but we shall see. They're playing the Rhinos next week, which will be a very interesting job. And the 66ers play the Shadows. So again, fairly interesting in the north for the LFC. I'm holding to my Hornets. I think they will come through in the end. I think the 66ers don't have too bad a run in. I say run in. Only got 8 games to go. Don't worry. The longest run in that you've ever seen.
Yeah. Well, my running starts week 0.
So I think pretty much the Hornets should get a playoff place. And then 66ers are in with a good chance. I'm not out of it altogether. That's my phone going as usual. So basically, much to play for. Okay, so let's have a look at the South, PFC South, if you would.
Okie dokie. Right, PFC South, right. Zane's Devils against Miranda's Bulldogs, right. Well, that finished 38-7 to the Devils. And basically, the Bulldogs have got no answer whatsoever for the Devils' passing game. Arathan threw 5 touchdowns, although he did have 3 interceptions, one of which was returned for a touchdown. But end of the day, Zane's Devils played really well. Good game, good result. And onward and upward for Zane. Considering where he was when he took over the team, which was a very, very poor team when he took it on. He's come on miraculously, really. So that was that. Next game, Eagles 24, Warriors 22. Now, this was a great comeback in the fourth quarter by Ambrose, but it just wasn't enough. He got 13 points in the fourth quarter, which brought him back to 2 points down. And then he managed to stop Andy's Eagles, but he'd only got 30 seconds left on the clock. And he got to go 90 yards. Well, he hadn't really got to go 90 yards. He needed a field goal. So, for argument's sake, he got to go 60 yards. But it was just too little, too late. He was really unlucky. But it was a really great effort to come back, to hold the Eagles and then make that comeback. It ran away from him in the end. He just ran out of time. In the end, the difference probably was the running back Gruffier for the Eagles. He had 259 yards and 2 touchdowns. And that probably was the difference in the game. But like I say, Ambrose is really unlucky. Andy moves on, as you'd expect, 2-0. But he had to work for it in this game. So, it wasn't as easy. I think I don't suppose he expected it to be easy, but it wasn't easy for him. So that puts the Devils and the Warriors at 1-1, and the Bulldogs fall to 0-2.
Yeah. So, Andy, would we say looking fairly comfortable?
Yeah, you would say so, because his schedule's not bad, and he knows exactly what he's doing. He's got a good team. Yeah. It'd be interesting because there are so many good teams this year.
Yeah.
And when I say so many good teams, I mean so many dominant teams.
Yeah.
It's going to be very interesting to see how it works out.
Yeah. Well, over on the LFC South, we've got two teams here that are going to fight it out, I think, most of the way. So the first game was the Rhinos against the Shadows. So the Rhinos were 42-11 final score, and they were 36-0, 36-zip up. So at halftime, so basically the game was all over then. The Shadows, this was a really weird game, really strange game, because you'd look at that scoreline and go 42-11, but basically the Rhinos only had 98 yards passing and 75 yards rushing, and they clocked up 42 points, whereas Jamie's Shadows basically had 241 yards passing. So you would think, looking at those figures, that the score might have even been the other way around. But it just goes to show. So why on earth did the Rhinos only need that sort of yardage to get to get the points on the board? Well, the answer really was in the punts, because the Rhinos punt returned, easy to say, for an average of about 40 yards. 39 yards average, whereas the Shadows were 10 yards average. So that really was the difference, was just their field position when they started their drive. They didn't have to go that far. Next week, very, very interesting. The Rhinos take on the Hornets. So that will really be a test of just how far the Rhinos have come. And the Shadows play the 66ers. So again, we'll see what happens there. The other game, and here there's going to be quite a battle, I think, between the Rhinos and the Weasels, because the Weasels ran out 41-16 winners against the Knights. So the Weasels march on, as it were, 27-7 at halftime, 231 yards passing, 203 yards rushing. The Weasels are probably one of those teams that genuinely has both a pass offense and a rushing offense. So you never... Yeah, so you never.
That's so hard to do, isn't it? Yeah, to get both. It's either one or the other generally.
Yeah, I mean, they are pretty much a balanced team, so you never know, as I'm going to find out next week, what the hell you're defending again. Or it's actually not next week, it's just a few days' time. I reckon the Weasels are playoff bound. I think they're looking really good. They have the best rush defense in the whole of Big Sky, which really bodes well for my rush offense. I'm sure I'm going to really enjoy that next week. Next week, Knights play the Patriots. So again, that'll be an interesting one. Again, the Knights may well, because of Steve's injury list, as it were, Brian might well score there. We don't know, but it would be handy if he did, because he's sitting 1-1 at the moment. So basically, you've got the Rhinos at 2-0. You've got the Weasels at 2-0. The Knights at 1-1, and Jamie's Shadows still 0-2. But that could be a tightly fought division, I think, that one. So we are looking now at the West.
Right.
PFC.
Yeah, indeed, the West, PFC West. Yeah. Right. We'll start off with Don's Huskies 10 and Mark's Stormers 30. Now, Washington managed to win this despite 3 interceptions, because the Huskies just couldn't get going on offense. They couldn't muster any offense at all, and that basically was the story of the game. So it was Mark's great defense that won him the game, despite the 30 points. That was the difference. The Huskies just couldn't get going at all. And the star of the game was the running back Pritchard for the Stormers, 146 yards and 3 TDs. And that was it. That was basically how he won the game. So kudos to him, and unfortunate for the Huskies. Right, moving on. Game of the week.
Ooh.
Yes, game of the week was Tom's Packers against James's Titans. Now, this was a cracking game. This was non-stop scoring. Yeah, the Packers in the end won out 54-41, but that's not really a true reflection of the game, because the Titans, Cagliostro, I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce his quarterback, Cagliostro, threw for 534 yards and 4 touchdowns. Yeah. Wide receiver Malone had 286 yards and a touchdown. The Packers running back Lamar, 173 yards and 3 touchdowns. At halftime, 27-24 to the Packers. But at the 50-minute mark, the Titans took the lead 41-40. So James must have been rubbing his hands together. I'm back in this. I'm going to come away with this. And it literally was that close right up to 50 minutes. But then the Packers moved away. 14 unanswered points. And I looked at whether it was fatigue or what it was. It didn't seem to be relevant, if I'm honest. It was just the way it works out. The Packers just went into what the Packers do, Packers mode, if you like. 14 points. James never got back in the game from that point. It was a great game, brilliantly coached by both, brilliant offense. I did really feel sorry for James because, and this is why, you look at the 2 games, right? Now, the Packers and the Stormers are 2-0. The Huskies are 1-1. The Titans have lost both of their games, but they've lost both of their games having scored 61 points and had an average of 450 yards of offense in both games.
Yeah.
And yet he's lost. Yeah. Now,
he's also had to play the Eagles, hasn't he? And the Packers right off the bat, as it were.
But the good news for James, the good news is next week he's playing the Chargers. So he may yet get more than 450 yards. Yeah. And probably a lot more than an average of 31 points. Yeah, that's my prediction for this week, is the fact he's going to stuff them. There you go.
But the thing is, if you look at that league, though, and then the fact that the Titans are not yet off the mark, as it were, you can't see that lasting for very long. Maybe even just for 1 week.
Maybe not a few days.
But basically, you've got to sort of think the the Titans are going to end up, I don't know, they 5-5, 6-4. It could be anything, and that league is going to be quite high scoring, I think, because the Stormers have got off to a great start. The Packers doing well, and Don's Huskies are improving all the time. So it's going to be I think that division is going to clock up a few wins overall. Yeah. So final one we're going to look at is the LFC West, where we've basically got the Massive against the Bucks. The Massive were 26 and the Bucks were 20. This scoreline is actually, to be quite sure, so it's probably closer than it should have been. When I say that, basically you had the Martin's Massive were on 440 yards in total against Aids Bucks of 140 yards. So 440 yards against 140 yards. The thing that really kept the Bucks in this game was the Massive had 5 turnovers. And that kept it interesting, shall we say. Massive next week take on the Statesman. And the Bucks take on the Phoenix. So I don't see Adrian getting much help there from the Phoenix as it comes in. Next game, the Sharks 27, the Irish 20. So here the Sharks, again, just awesome passing, 493 yards in the air, as opposed to 1 yard on the ground. So you can tell which way Ben likes to play. It's going in the air whether you like it or not. The quarterback and the most valuable player, Fulford, was absolutely awesome. He just had a brilliant day today, then, and that was the difference. So the question is, are the Sharks back in contention? Are they back on the road again, or is there still a lot of work to be done there? We're going to see next week to a certain extent, because the Sharks are taking on Colton's Fire. That will be a tough old game for them. And the Irish take on the Sun Devils. So again, we're going to see whether Sam's team has improved, as I think it has done. Massive sitting top of the league, top of the division rather, 2-0. The Sharks 1-1. The Irish, Rays Irish, Norton 2, and Aids Buccaneers, Norton 2 as well. So again, it looks as if it's going to be a shootout between Martin and Ben for top spot there, but we shall see. A lot of the season still to go. So that basically wraps up what's been going on this week. A lot of quite good games, I thought, this week. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, you've got the usual cream, haven't you? And then there are one or two pretenders that are just coming through. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes. You've got your stalwarts who are always there, and now there are teams just starting to advance on them. So it's going to be really, really interesting season. I obviously exclude my Chargers, but it's pretty much every other team. Well, me maybe in the Bombers. Everybody else is in with a fighting chance.
Yeah, the thing that I'm liking about it is some of the new guys that have joined. And I say people like Craig, for example, is making a name with the 66, as Ben is doing very well with the Huskies. Dom's doing well with the Huskies. Ben is doing well with the Weasels. I mean, a lot of relatively new guys into the league, and they're making their mark. Ian, Eben, we keep going on with these new guys. And some of the shall we say? I mean, obviously you've got your Toms and your Andys and your Collins and your Conrads, etc., etc. But we've also got some of the older school, I say older in terms of service, as it were, who are sort of, I don't know. Adrian's having a tough old season, and he's been around for a long, long time. Miranda's fairly new in there. You've got Scott's, obviously in a bloody awful division as far as he's concerned, because if you're in the division with the Rivets, it's not the easiest division to walk out, and Gary, again, moving forward. So it's an interesting old season, I think, this one.
How much of it do you think is down to Pops?
I don't know. It's like Pops is a total bloody alien subject.
That's what made me ask, because at the end of the day, if you have, if you go through awful aging, which we all seem to, the majority of the time, you've got to get those levels back, haven't you? And if you can't get them back, if it's just not happening for you, but then you've got the consistency of of the Andys and the Comrades and the Garys and Carlin and I mean the list goes on. But what I mean is, what are they doing that's different to the rest of us? I know they coach a very good game, but they must also use those CPs very well. I changed
my policy this week totally, because I've been getting 2 pops, 1 pop, 3 pops, that sort of thing. And this week I got 7.
Oh, right.
Yeah, and what I did, which I know it sounds common sense, but I've been trying to continue popping, the 12, 13, 14 players that I need in positions, if you know what I mean. And this week I totally and utterly ignored that and just went purely and utterly on youth. Yeah, on the basis that, the other system wasn't working.
Yeah.
And again, do you scattergun it with 5 CPs per player? Do you give some 10? How do you do it? And that seems to be like an art form where you've got to have dodgy handshakes and all sorts of weird and wonderful things to sort of know what the formula is, you know.
Yeah. It's alchemy, isn't it? Effectively, you're trying to manufacture gold. It's how you can do it consistently. I don't know. I've tried each route. I've tried the 5s. I've tried the 10s. Somewhere in between. I've done lower valued players. I've, like you say, concentrated on starters, and I cannot. To me, it's nuclear science, because I cannot fathom it at all. Yeah, I mean, I had two pops this week, and I followed the 5 CP. Throw it all over the place, put it on lower players, and I still only got 2 pops.
Yeah, well, you must not be speaking to the pop gods properly, mate.
I can't. No, you're absolutely right. Yeah, that's going to be my new religion.
Well, that about wraps it up. Obviously, we've got a short week this week, so a quick reminder that if you haven't already, done your coaching, done your game plan for both college and for Big Sky, then for goodness sake, get it all done. We talked at the start about getting some people to come on and introduce themselves, as it were, with a 1, 2, 3 minute video. Mm-hmm. Do we want to push that again, Chris, do you think?
Yeah, I'm going to be chasing some people. I know Ray agreed to spare me some time when he came back off his holiday, and he has. But yeah, I'm going to send some messages out again and do some invites. And I think maybe it might be time for us to have a guest on, Kev. I think
You reckon people are getting bored of our ugly mugs, yeah?
And who can blame them?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right, well, we shall try and get that all sorted for next week. Okay. All being well, we shall be reporting on week 3 next week. So thanks very much indeed once again, Chris. And I think we'll probably wrap it up there, shall we, sir?
Okay, cheers, Kev. I'll see you next week, mate.
Yeah, afraid so, mate. Okay, you take care.
Cheers, Kev. Bye.
Bye.